What are social organizations? That is very important for you to know. Now, one may ask you a question. What is the meaning and purpose of social organization? Are we totally free and independent of the rules and expectations of others? Are we wholly controlled and governed by others? What means do people use to bring about order and control? Would life be chaotic without rules, without social organizations, without constitutions, without laws or bylaws or customs or folklores? Yeah, how would the world be? Would it be very chaotic? So, in his famous work, entitled Warden, Henry David Thoreau, the 19th century American essayist, maintained that an individual can be totally free and independent of others, their rules and expectations. Now, the position of most sociologists on this question is that individuals are neither totally free nor totally controlled. But you see, Henry David Thoreau could see that you can excuse yourself from the burdens of the people. The WhatsApp groups they put you, they have many harambes they invite you, the many fundraising they invite you, the many social activities where your time is eaten away. Henry David Thoreau would say you can escape it, and that's all. And we can say it could have been, it differs substantially with other sociologists who argue that individuals are neither totally free nor totally controlled. You cannot totally control people, yes, and you cannot also say you are free. Free from what? Or controlled by what? Control is like conscience itself controls you when you are doing bad things to other people. Definitely you feel the pain. Abraham Lincoln, a man I like so much, before he was killed by an assassin in 1865, after the Emancipation Declaration, where black people were freed, where he said nobody will be a slave in America, and people, the white supremacists, remained at pains, bitter, swearing. They swore that they would destroy this man, and actually they did it. And they made him forget that he still had enemies, because he gained so many friends after the Emancipation Declaration, but forgot that he also increased friends. And of course, there are many theories how he died, and I don't want to get into the details, but he was assassinated, just like John F. Kennedy in 1965, who was also a friend to Martin Luther King Jr. during the civil rights movement in 1960s and since 1955. It's unfortunate, great people have found it the other way around. They have found life upside down. It's unfortunate. Society has always tended to destroy some of the great people we have ever thought of. We can talk of them in Kenya, we can talk of them all over wherever we are. We have always destroyed the friends of the people. We have always mistaken them for enemies of the people. Now, Abraham Lincoln said this. He made this statement before his death in 1865. He said, "When I do bad, I feel bad. When I do good, I feel good. That is my religion." End of quote. So when I do good, I feel good, and when I do bad, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad. When I do good, I feel good. That is my religion. In other words, his religiosity was pushing him, not pulling, to view true religion is, as James talked about, where we are good doers of the word. We do what we say. As Mahatma Gandhi would say, If you want to preach Satyagraha, live Satyagraha. If you want to preach change, live a changed life. So Abraham Lincoln would talk about the conscience telling him, do good. It's a law unto itself. St. Paul's telling those people who are practicing homosexual activities, and other unpleasant activities somewhere, telling them, nobody, in Romans 1 and 2, nobody has excuse. Where there is no law, you be judged without the law. So nobody doesn't have the law of conscience. Every one of us has a law unto himself and to herself. When you are hurting somebody, it will come back to you because you know and you are answerable. We talked about the responsibility sometimes in counseling. I don't want to get back there. Take responsibility because you have what it takes to be responsible, because you have a law unto yourself. So nobody is totally controlled by law. Even St. Paul would imply that. And nobody is totally free, because when Abraham Lincoln does bad things, he would feel not free. He would feel conscience-wise. He is disturbed in his conscience, disturbed and comfortable. But when he did good, when he cheers somebody with a song, a good dance, good words of encouragement, hey, get up, we build the nation, get up. America, you are great, come up. He feels good. He goes to sleep happy. His blood pressure is happy. It's not really, anyway, blood can't be happy. But you are happy, you are moving well, you are doing well. Because you have done the right thing and you have done it well and you had good intention. But if I work on a scheme to destroy other people, society, for example, because you are in sociology, I would definitely be haunted by that. It will trouble me and trouble me many times. Now, for social system are to some extent boundary maintaining. That is, the social system exact control that limits human activity. That is a social system. Although they are not totally limiting, they don't totally free you from whatever you want to do. They don't give you for permissiveness. They're not comfortable. Sociology is not very comfortable with the permissive society, because permissive society can employ don't care attitude. Whatever you smoke doesn't matter how you act on other people. Whatever you drink, you don't care what other people will feel. That means even if we are not totally controlled, we are also not totally free. So that's a sociological position. Hence, we always need social organizations. So these social organizations, they'll always be important so that they can map out the boundaries within which you can step in, we can step in, we can live in, we can enjoy our freedoms, we can enjoy our liberties, we can dream our dreams because we are within those parameters. So in addressing the topic on social organization, we will have to address issues that limit human activities, such as norms and sanctions, status and laws, deviance and social disorganizations. Now, so when you look back to social organizations, is the under-pattern that human exhibit, is the under-patterning that human exhibit in their behavior as they interact with one another. Maybe I need to rephrase that statement. That is there under in human exhibitions in our own behavior as we interact with one another. You see, there should be, we exhibit honor, we exhibit decorum, discipline, we exhibit, caution and respect with one another. And that's why these social organizations will be there. So what are these social organizations? social organizations are social units that pursue specific goals which they are structured to serve. Typical organizations include persons, churches, schools, and universities. In each social organization, there are members interacting with one another in their efforts to reach the organizational aim, which may be either profit-oriented or Christ-oriented. In that regard, social organizations can be described only as the ways in which human conduct becomes socially organized. So the word to underline here is socially organized. That's why they are called social organization, to build a socially organized world for us to live in. Think of their structure. Their component parts stand in some relation to one another. The relationship between components involves one, patterns of social interaction. In the case of church, how are Christians expected to interact with their pastor and senior pastors on the one hand, or on the other hand, rather? In case of school, how are the teachers expected to interact with the head teacher on the one hand and the pupils on the other? There's also something to do with the frequency and duration of contacts between members themselves in a social organization. Now, in case of church, the duration of contact is between 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Off days is on Mondays for some ecclesiastical readers. There are those who go for holiday, for their off day only on Sunday after church, because if they are Christians, because they are there maybe even on Saturdays they are doing coaching. There are those who go for off days only on Saturday and Sunday. Now, note that this can vary from time to time and the changes are inevitable. The direction of influence or authority of the members is also something to consider. Something else, sentiments toward one another, which involve feelings of attraction, respect, or hostility by the members. For example, when students engage in riotous acts, they are expressing the sentiment of hostility. Thus, social organizations involve both the structural aspect and the behavior aspect. Now, when you look at the school, you think of the social structure of the school. Of course, you find the network of relationships that are involved therein. Think of head-teacher-teacher relationship. Think of head-teacher-student relationship. Think of head-teacher and non-academic staff relationship. Think of teacher-teacher relationship. Think of teacher-student relationship. Think of teacher-student or non-teaching staff relationship. That is the structuring of the school. And that is also within the social organization. Thinking of the social structure of a church, for example, how does it look like? What social organization do we expect them to be or to do? One, social organization can promote stability and predictability in all kinds of groups. Number two, since human groups cannot exist without social organizations, the topic is of vital concern to sociologists as norms, sanctions, status, and laws must be observed in social organization like church, school, university, prison, etc. It means it is a means, not a means. It's a means of social control. That is, social organizations are also a means of social control. We noted all those much earlier. I want to talk about their sanctions within this topic. I'm hoping it will not take too long about sanction, and particularly social sanctions. Sanctions. The sanctions are those actions of a positive or negative nature that the group use to reinforce the established norms. For example, a smile, a pay rise, sincere love, a frown, a pay cut, a rise eyebrow are familiar sanctions to us. E.g., if you have some poor table manners, we will look at you grimacingly, with ugly, twisted expression on the face. Now, we think of status. The term status is often used to mean a possession we hold within a group. Okay? So a person's status within a family group gives rise to certain expectations in others. For example, in a church, bishop, archdeacon, rural, dean, all those, senior pastor, overseer, all those. In a family, father, mother, grandfather, oldest boy, daughter, all that. In this, grandchildren may expect their grandfather to be kind, to be generous, and paternal, all that. So I don't want to get back to status, but you remember we tackled this, and if you can remember, I said it will come back to us. I talked about when we are beginning. I know we have now done the real job for all these things. We are now like specializing, because if we were able to tell the key concept in these areas, we have done our work. We are looking to one rising, if not specialty areas. We talked about ascribed status and achieved status. And we talked about the status you are able to bestow upon yourself. And we were able to see that we can put ourselves in a certain, like we are here and back to school. We are actually working out on the subject or regarding status. It can be achieved, it will always be achieved status, not ascribed. Once we are through with this, we move to another status. If you didn't have a bachelor's degree, everyone will know this is a graduate. If you didn't have a master's degree, even your own child, your own junior or senior, will easily even find this is not the guy we knew. You will not go frightening anybody with your certificate and saying, now I'm not the same, me ni mwingine. Surely you not do that, because that is not the work of intellectuals, as we shall see in critical thinking. Their intellectual expectation of an intellectual. An intellectual has to have certain way. You don't keep shouting there, these are my students, I taught them. No. You let them say, this man taught me. You are not the teacher to say, I taught them. It is bad manners. It is them to say if they want. If they don't want, maybe they never heard anything from you. There is nothing they can even remember that you talked about. So it is not you to say, I taught anybody. And particularly if they are adults, you don't say, I taught adults. You can't teach an adult. You only facilitate their learning. And some could be more experienced than you, more knowledgeable than you, by far. It's a question of they were rates because of they were doing other good things, building the nation. But you went through, you do not have the capacities they have in other areas. So you've not beaten them because you have so many papers. No. You are only okay that line. What about them in another line which you don't know? So you are not coming here to teach anybody. You are actually facilitating learning, particularly if they are adults. If they are children, they don't know A, B, C, D. Those ones are taught. And you should be very thankful to those people than even adult teachers, because than those who have taught you in your adulthood. Because those are the real caregivers to us. Those are the real people. This other respect should come from the person, not you imposing yourself to somebody. I taught you. That is an insult anyway. It can be an insult now, because why are you tearing it out how you taught? Unless it is a question of somebody, you are interviewing somebody. I saw him in class, or he was in a class I was facilitating. But it is not a question of you talking like, anyway, achieved status, like academic status. They go with the responsibility, they go with maturity, and because you are not given, it is not a clan inheritance. You are not Kabaka or Mwanga or Kabaka inheriting Mutebi inheriting from your family tree. Not at all. It is work you have done to make you get there. I don't want to get to deviance, that is going opposite, or conduct defined by society as unacceptable. I don't want to get there because we have done those things, those who are in from the very start. We have done deviance in society. But I can say a few things about characteristics of social organizations. The possession of statuses are organized into a hierarchical authority structure. There are formally established systems of rules and regulations which govern or regulate official decisions and actions. Number 3, officials are expected to assume an impersonal orientation in their contact with clients and with other officials. Number 4, employment is based on qualification rather than on political, family, or other connections. You see, that's another critique. And that's why we are sociologists, because sociologists will always go beneath and ask, is this a true position that employment in social organizations is out of meritocracy? Merit, not political, ethnic, family, or prejudices. I know of a university where it's a university mark you, I laugh at it. They take you because they know you, or you must be introduced by another one so that you accept it. You must be in a group because it's like a fighting groups among the staff. So a lot of stress. You must be brought in by another one. And this is so hidden. As a sociologist, you can go beneath and tell this is so hidden. If you don't look polite, you don't get a job there. They must be told. So it's always not polite. You'll be asking many questions. You'll be independent-minded. Okay, that is his character. Let's just go interview and get away to disqualify this person. That is the wrong way to be a social organization. That is unethical. And in any case, if it's an academic institution, independent-minded people are the best people because they bring what we call academic freedom. Academic institutions should be like parliament, where you can say anything and you are not arrested. As long as you are analyzing a matter from an academic perspective, you are studying French Revolution or Marxist conflict theory. Now, if you are teaching such theories or such historiographies, you find yourself comparing your country with the French Revolution of 1789, for example. Chinese Revolution of Mao Zedong in 1949, or Vladimir Lenin's Russian Revolution of 1917, or Cuban Revolution of 1956 to 1959. Now, that one should not be done, should not be suppressed, because there should be academic freedom. You can compare till the runners are able to draw comparisons, parallelisms, and be able to understand the future of their own countries or the pitfalls that may come in if we don't do ABCD. Students of political science in Nairobi University had already analyzed what Kenya is likely to have after Kenya became a de jure one-party political state, which amounted to institutionalization of dictatorship of one man or of one party. And they could see more coup attempts, and within a short time they started happening. There were 2 that happened. There was a Mudemba attempt. There was the Ochuka attempt. There were others that never came out. Immediately after that, okay? And there was also other things that kept coming up. And you see, the system became more and more repressive. Rather than understanding it was wrong, to make people feel like they have no freedom, they went on making it harder to make freedom of speech, a human right. And Kenya has never recovered from 1982 major era. So when we, in social organizations, we fail to appreciate the freedom that ought to come within the organization, that we can critique responsibly, but not irresponsibly, going beneath and talking, backstabbing the organization, rather than bringing our critics. They are not even supposed to be critics, but critique, where you give the best line and offer solution, so that it's now a critique, and do it in the open, or tell the person who matters, so that he can collect, or you are paying, go to the person direct, and that will build that institution. But if we go clandestinely, we will destroy the institution. Anyway, going now to social institutions, we have looked at social organizations. There's there's a thin line between the two, but nevertheless, we have to look at them very quickly. I think it's not a question of details as we wind up. We want now to focus on term papers or assignments, because they shape up who you are, what you want to be. And being on your own sometimes is better than having us always pushing you around. That's why we are resting for this 1 week. We come back and continue for, you never know, for maybe 2 weeks, and then start working, and hope we will have gotten all these term papers before the end of July, or before we also have 2 questions exams. Okay, social institutions. Now, what is a social institution? Politics is an example of a social institution. Discuss with examples of how politics in your country is affecting human and social development. Question 3, what are the social institutions that you know? Discuss 2 of them. Number 4, mention 3 social institutions and analyze 1 in detail. Number 5, politics is 1 social institution. Discuss its role in human development. Religion and culture in African society are inseparable. Discuss. What is a social institution? So that is a question I want to talk about. And again, as I tell you, no details, whether we have given you all the quite some substantial materials, we will not get into details of it. Smith and Preston in 1977 defined a social institution, or an institution for that matter, as an established, relatively enduring, and organized set of procedure that enables a society to solve one or more of its major problems. For example, although a university is commonly referred to as an institution, it is more aptly described as an organization with official goals, positions, and rules to be followed. Thus, university alone is not an institution as far as sociology and social anthropology is concerned. Rather, all these schools, educational policies and procedures and teachings, topics and styles and methods within a social makeup make an educational institution. All these make up a social institution. Make an educational institution. So school on its own is not an institution. But when they are combined, educational policies, procedures, teachings, topics, styles, methods, okay, according to social anthropology, these are not institutions. A university is not yet an institution. But all of them combined make educational institution. So down there, we look at each social institution. One of them is educational institution. where universities are part. Religion, where churches and mosques are part. Family is a social institution. Government is a social institution. Economy is a social institution. Okay? And we can say that we basically have 5 social institutions. 5 basic institutions: family, religion, education, government, and economy. We sometimes call it non-sociologists as institutions. Institution yangu, my institution. But truth of the matter, sociologists and social anthropologists will tell you, no, it is part of the socio-educational institution, what you are calling social institution. Okay, we said we dare not say too much, say a lot about anything. But we should hasten to say institutions develop as ways of dealing with the society's concern or societal concern. For example, the institution of religion exists to aid our understanding of the mysteries of life, the unknown and the supernatural. Institutions consist of norms. For example, family institutions expect that a marriage will include only one husband and one wife at a time. Sanctions arise to enforce these norms. Institutions change with time and vary from society to society. As new problems arise, institutions tend to adapt through the speed, through degree, and direction of this change is always varying. It always keeps varying. Okay? Now, thinking of this family as a social institution, I just want to talk about the functions. Functions of family as a social institution is economic functions. Okay? Milking the cow, hunting, sewing, canning vegetables. It is canning vegetables, which is performed to ensure the overall well-being of the family. There are also industries, even in traditional African society, plowing the fields, okay, sewing, we have said all these things. Teaching, there's also teaching religion. The first place you learn religion is at home, and the first pastor is the mother of a man or woman, because the mother keeps singing, and in singing, that is where teaching of religion begins. Those lullabies, they begin teaching about religion. And there's also informal education, where we are taught at family level the duties to in-laws, clan politics, family background, genealogies. Okay? Yeah. There is also a fourth function of family as a social institution. There is procreation, reproduction, and rearing of children. There is also family regulates sexual activity. There is also cultural transmission. There is also provision of affection and companionship. There is also reduction of competitions. There is also regulating division of labor. There is also conferring of status, because the conferring of status in a family, we say it all depends on the particular family or kingship. Some places you are born a king, a prince, because you are son or daughter of a king. So you become a queen or prince because of your parentage. You are conferred certain responsibility status. My friend, one of the great thinkers of French Revolution, who wrote to challenge the status quo before the French Revolution of 1789, but died a few years before it took place, having written and written and written and written. I like people who write and write and write. You think they are not hearing. Society is listening. It may pretend we are not hearing what so and so writes. Watakusikiza, wapende wasipende. kimeandikwa. Watakisikiza jamani. Watasikiza with the time they will listen. They have to. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who lived between 1712 and 1778, wrote to challenge the status quo, to challenge Louis XVI and his wife, Marie Antoinette, who, Antoinette, I know pronunciation differ. These are French names. But I pronounce it my style anyway, because I don't come from there. And he would write a lot of things about how it is bad to be a monarchy. It is nothing bad as leadership without social contract with the people you read. And he would talk about the social contract theory in a manner that his record has never been beaten by anybody. And you see some sociologists talk of Auguste Comte as the father of sociology. Even there was Ibn Khaldun, who was writing before. The man wrote, an Arab man who was there before these guys. He wrote economics books, he wrote sociology books. He did a very great work. But Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who came after Ibn Khaldun, I don't think they knew one another, wrote a lot about the people and society. And I should not say about his theories. It's a lot about this man. We are not here to talk about him. But let me make a quotation that he made. If mothers neglect their duties to their children, the children will neglect theirs to their mother and society, because they were not groomed in to the habit of accepting responsibilities and fulfilling them. End of quote. So you can see this was a man. I just wake up in the morning, I think of this man. I just wish I saw him. But I thank God you can read a lot about this guy, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. You can mention others called Rousseau, but I call him Rousseau. That's me. And because of this is a man like no other. A man like no other. And we can talk about cautioning us when we are thinking of these social institutions. Think of it at family level. When we become irresponsible, we show neglecting. We don't care what happens where we are, my friend. We have the means, or we should show concern if we are not able, but we want to show we don't care. That is dangerous. And that is what Jean-Jacques Rousseau would say, you are setting a bad habit. And before then, Nyerere had said a point, I refuse to get there, because we don't have to say everything that is here. We can only use material with us here to say a few things that are must. Otherwise, mine is facilitation. Not to bring every knowledge here. It is impossible. Nyerere would say, if you want to make a great nation, make a good family. That is the starting. We all try this. Of course, you can critique this and say, these days it is not the parental problems. It is the children who are not taking education seriously. You can also say it is a challenge of drugs since 2003. Even in the villages of central Kenya, where drugs were for very few people, and we only knew cannabis sativa. Now all this marijuana we used to hear in Mombasa, they are more there. And you can see people who have become overnight billionaires. We talked of billionaires because I understand almost everybody who is working is a millionaire. Million is nothing these days in the country. If you have an acre of land, that is already a million plus. So we note that almost everybody is a millionaire. There are billionaires these days who are very young. Very, very young. In the past, we used to cry in traditional African society when you become rich, when you are below 40, because we find you are going to hurt the ancestors when you brag and they make you die poor. They intercede and you end up poor. The ancestral spirit will work against you when you start insulting them and assuming there is no God, you are the God yourself. Because of the age, will make you brag and insult even the elders wazee, who are very close to ancestral lineage and very close to God, my friend. Wewe achana na wazee. In conclusion, the functions of child bearing and rearing are very important to the society, in that the continuity of the society is guaranteed. Okay? Now, just mentioning religion as a social institution, we cannot come back here next time, because we will leave you to work out on your term paper, and if you want to get back here and go through it, at least we have done our part. We have done the best we can, at least to make everybody walk like we are same knowledge, we have same knowledge level, same age and all that. We have tried that and produced a conducive environment possible. So what is religion? All that, all about set of beliefs, patterned behaviors concerned with supernatural beings and force. That is Ngere Ferraro's definition. The others who say religion is God's way, man's way of seeking God. I don't know women, but it should be human way of seeking God, and salvation is God's way of seeking human beings. Of course, that to me is too pietistic and not intellectually admissible, but it is a good attempt. And is it William Shakespeare who said, there is nothing in this world which is either good or bad, reason makes it so. Meaning, no religion is all buses to take you to God, so they are just buses. Twende kazi. Anyway, I don't want to get there about religion. Then anthropologists have their definition, and we all talk about beliefs of the supernatural deity, and there are difficulties in defining religion. Emile Durkheim, the sociologist of religion, we call him sociologist of religion, a man who saw the value of religion and came up with a theory in religion, but he came with a functionalistic theory of religion. It is his. He said religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices relative to sacred things, uniting into a single moral community all of those who are there to those beliefs and practices. Unfortunately, Maskini, he didn't believe in religion, but he could see religion as a social role to bring people together, to bring harmony, but he didn't. You don't say you can only understand and define religion through looking at its own function. That's another one. Sociologists may want to interrogate beyond there. Now, coming to functions and dysfunctions of religion, it can also talk about latent and manifest functions of religion. But for this one of the functions of religion, meaning the positive aspect, is priestly function. Okay? It supports the existing culture of a society by making its norm sacred. That's the priestly functions. And I don't want to get into details how Karl Marx dismissed it as an opium of the people. I don't want to get into that. That one I leave it to you. And a lot of literature will keep repeating and coming back every now and then about it. So I do not have to repeat what I'm sure will keep coming. But I should hasten to say, there are also dysfunctions. Ile inaenda combo. Other people will call it latent function. But other people may redefine latent and say they are manifest and latent function. Manifest function of religion are those that are intended, and the latent function of religion are those that are not intended. And now when you come to dysfunction of religion, it is what religion has failed to do. For example, if it creates chaos, if it creates more terrorists or so many pietists. Pietists are those who say, mi siendi shule, roho anatosha. And I saw one girl in Marsabit when I was working there, I was serving there. Went back in 1996, Marsabit. When she dropped out of school, the most reading Muslim girl, and for all Christian and Muslim, she was the brightest girl in Form 2. She spoke Queen's English. I don't know where how she made it and how she reached that far. Yes, Engao, sitaki kuongea mengi, alikuwa yeye kabisa. She was herself, and God loved the world. But what is very sad about this girl, she came back home to us where we were in a church in Marsabit, and she told us, I have stopped schooling. Why? I've also stopped being a Muslim. Now I'm a Christian. Okay. We started asking her about fears of being attacked. And then the story went on. And she told us that, Yesu ananitosha. Because Jesus satisfies all my needs. He is the iconoclastic prophet. When you are dealing with an iconoclast, it's more of a commander-in-chief. A prophet who speaks once, the world hears, is an iconoclast. Iconoclastic. So I don't have to remain in school, and I don't even have to be a Muslim any longer. Yeye ananitosha. Yeye ni mambo yote. I don't even need school. That is a dysfunction of religion. Tangu lini dini ilisema watu wasisome? When did religion say no education when you have religion? Go to the Quran. They encourage, Muhammad himself encouraged technological education when there was no technology. It is implied in the Quran. Watu wasome. Na tulivyomwaona hata pale mnaita wapi? Dubai. These are industrialized Islam states. Iran is giving hand time to America. Iraq even gave chase to both Bushes, to two Bushes, father and son, George and George, my friend. Those Bushes, waliona kivumbi because of a Muslim state, because of how they have used their petroleum, their oil, all that, and build industries. Now, huyu msichana, when she comes to tell us that Jesus satisfies all my needs, I don't need schooling, I find this ridiculous. That is, to me, is the function of religion. Even the thing Jesus should want and encourage her to study and become another Chief Justice after this other one, although those were 1986. She's an elderly or mature woman today. You never know whether she went back to Islam after, whatever she saw. But I pray God that she got satisfaction. Another function of religion is prophetic functions. Speaking up political messages and open messages to gain the society. Like Peter in Acts 5:29 made a prophetic message. He said that the government is telling us not to cross the frontiers to take mission. So we must obey God rather than man. And the man who risks his life, a prophetic voice, is fearless and courageous. Prophetic bishops were Gitaris, Muges, Okurus, Dhamburis a bit, Okoth a bit, Okulu, Gritri. Joya almost lost his life, and other people. Martin Luther King was brought down by the barrel of the gun because he was fighting prophetically. He was fighting injustices in America. Now, another function of religion is self-identification. Religion may suggest that people are not worthless or malcontents. Rather, it will encourage them with one such as, you are called children of them. You are children of the Most High. There is what we call buttress function of religion. Buttress function is providing support, reconciliation, consolation. You can remember when Mrs. Coretta King lost his husband when he was shot dead, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, the black American leader of the civil rights movement, in April 1968. Mrs. Coretta King, who died the other day, later came and said that her religion had given her much support, consolation, and reconciliation. That is what we call buttress function when you comfort people. The other one is age grading function. The other one is explanation function. The other one is social control. Religion also solves conflict. This is very important even for counseling student, because you can have right on conflict resolution from whichever method, religion or counseling psychology. It is just part of us. There is also group solidarity. You remember in Uganda, UPC, or Uganda People's Congress, was a Catholic party. No, was Anglican party or Protestant party. But the DP, or the Democratic Party under Paul Semogerere, was a Catholic and Muslim party. And Muslims are a bit fewer in Uganda, so they supported the thing. Even now, UPC, Uganda, religion plays a big part. People are happy in Uganda to say Museveni is an Anglican, even when they are also not happy of other things, because those who are Anglicans also feel they have a chance to have another Anglican, not now. Then they had Obote, now they have Museveni. So in other places in central Kenya, clans are weak. What is strong is churches. If you say I'm a Catholic, if you have a wedding, they'll come. If you are Presbyterian, when you have a function, they'll come. They are your people more than your clan. But if you think a clan will help you in central Kenya, you are not very lucky. It is, you have to see religion as a social institution and take it very seriously. If you think of education likewise, education is equally a social institution, and you see the functions of education is transmission of culture, placement, okay, where some are placed as teachers, counselors, counseling psychologists, administrators. That is the role of religion. It is also to develop new researches through research. You can talk of Kenya AIDS vaccine initiative. You can also think of COVID vaccine. These are functions of education. Think of education, individual development. When you get your PhD, LLD, LLB, BA, BD, DPH, you move upwards. You aid individual upward mobility, or upward social mobility, as sociologists would call it. In such cases, our salaries on general earnings are directly related to the amount of schooling one has. Or people in society, they are happy to listen to somebody who has been to school rather than a person who dropped out, unless he has a lot of money, so that this person can use the same money to induce people. But in ordinary circumstances, we like to listen to the person who has been to school. In his book, Sociology of Education, this man Iseu says that education serves society in 4 ways: to prepare individual's mind, to equip the individual with knowledge, to educate, equip the individual with skills, attitude, and values, and number 4, help in making the future certain by making us plan it together and plan it better, and it then equips us to make, and helps us to transform society for the better. Now, coming back to mentioning political and economies, we want to say that there are functions of political and economic institutions. Of course, they deal with economics. The economics is all about production, allocation, and distribution of resources, hence creating political stability and harmony. When you come to political, its major function is social control. Whatever, as Gary Ferraro in his publication in 1982 actually, says, whatever form of political organization may be found in a society, it must inevitably address the issue of social control. And there brings again social norms and social control. All these institutions bring social control. After 1 week, we shall come back to culture, and we'll be moving towards completing the document before us, so that we empower you to get there and read the material as you write your term paper. Get very serious this week, so that we know how far you have reached. Even if you finish one, send it through the email you shall send, or you have, or we can give it to you once you are done with it. Not through WhatsApp. Send by email. If you don't know the email, ask. It will be given here in our WhatsApp group. Thank you very much, and ask all questions or comments. Time is over.